Hey everybody, welcome to this next tutorial on how to get into Velocidrone spec racing. So the first thing we want to make sure is that you're always running from the launcher file. So that just makes sure you're always up to date, and if you're not up to date you won't be able to get into the multiplayer sessions. So it's always important that you're launching from that launcher, then it'll load up. Okay, so we're into the game, and with the spec racing, we're always going to be using the TBS spec quad. So if we go into any of the things, we can add a quad, and if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see the orange TBS spec quad. So this is the quad we're looking for. It's not the TBS Oblivion, because that's black. It's the TBS spec. So if you select model and save it, that will give you that quad into your kind of group of quads. So these are all my different quads, but the spec quad is the one we want to use. This has lock settings, as you can see on the right. If you change any of these, it's still locked to a propeller of 5141 and a blade profile of 2 and battery size of 1500. So that's always going to be the same. No matter what you change the settings to, it'll always just be those settings, and it just makes sure everyone's on the same quad when they're flying. Now if we go back, we also need to go into our settings. If you've not done much online racing before or using Nemisis mode, we want to set auto leaderboard time upload to yes. That means in qualifying, any Nemisis, so 3 lap times you do, will just get automatically uploaded to the leaderboard. It means you don't have to remember to click upload at the end of the lap if you do a good one. So it just saves you from missing out on a time. Now for qualifying, we're just going to go to my other screen. So we can actually run through the add quad. Oh, sorry, I've got this in windowed mode just so I can have Discord at the same time. So just running through what we would do. So it's spec, save. Apologies, it's quite small at the moment. Okay, so now we've got Discord on the right. If you haven't seen about Discord, if you watch my other video, which I'll tag in the top right corner, that'll explain how you get into the Discord server and what goes on in the Discord server. Now for qualifying, the qualifying for the TBS EU spec starts at 6:15 in the evening UK time, and at that time the track will be released. So the track isn't out until that time, just so everyone's got exactly the same amount of time to practice the track. So at 6:15 I'll be joining the EU spec hangout chat. So I'm just going to stick a couple of one of my other Discord channels in, just so you can see. So you can see here, LEV2, he's muted and he's deafened, so you don't have to be. That's just because I've got my phone, I don't want the reverb. But being muted is fine. It's good if you can hear what's going on, but for qualifying it doesn't really matter. You being in TBS EU spec just shows to me that you're here and you're racing today. So it's just a nice easy way, because there'll be a list of pilots, everyone just qualifying on their own. So that tells me that you're in. So for doing the qualifying, we're going to be using a Nemisis time. So what that means is, if you've not used Nemisis mode before, click Nemisis, select your quad, and we'll go to the track selection. Now because I'll have set the track as a leaderboard track, so it will show up in your listed tracks. In the chat on Discord, I'll always say what the track is called and also which scene it's in. The easiest way to find the track is, let's just say it's in football stadium. So yeah, football stadium, click this new tracks button at the top, and that will show the latest tracks that have been uploaded. These are just 2 that I've working on in the background. So in here you'd see TBS EU Spec Series 9 Race 1 or something like that. Not going to do that. Let's just go something simple. And then we are in Nemesis mode. So if we go onto leaderboard, at the start of qualifying there'll be no times in here, but as people put in their 3 lap times, this leaderboard will start to populate. And the positions in this leaderboard is your positions for going into mains. If you ever want to see how the top guys are racing, if you go to leaderboard, you can either view the lap, so click view Nemesis flight, and then we get to see them flying the track, which is good if you want to see how the top guys are doing lines. Gives you a better idea, see where you're going wrong. It's quite good. Obviously rate is pretty quick. And you can also race a particular pilot. So if I go click on track and then start to fly, there we go. You'll see that is track. So you can do your qualifying and race anyone else if you want. It's hard to fly and talk at the same time. If you then want to go back to racing 4 people, you can click this refresh button. It's only showing 2 because I've not got a time on this lap. So we've got a couple of pilots there, but if I set a time, it will go to having the 2 people above you and the 2 people below you to race. So it's good if you want to race against people that, or qualify against people who are similar speed to you. Because we set auto upload, it's going to automatically upload your time after every race onto this leaderboard, and if you go slower than the first leaderboard, then slower than your time on the leaderboard, then it will just say your current time is faster. Now qualifying generally lasts for 45 minutes, so we do 6:15 UK to 7 PM UK time, and at that point what I'll be doing is exporting this leaderboard. So whatever happens, when the clock goes to the hour, I'll export, and those positions will be taken over to the Google spreadsheet. Right, so here you'll have a list of people, and I'll say I'll be in the text chat TBS EU Spec, and I'll say qualifying's over. Next thing to do, so we've done qualifying. Okay, so we've got the Google Sheet. So if we go to the Google Sheet, so there's a link to this sheet in the rules, and I normally drop the link in the chat. So at the bottom of the sheet, you'll see there's a couple of different tabs that you can view. This isn't filled out because we've only just started the season, but this mains with bump ups is the one that you're going to want to be looking at. So you can see in this one, we've done qualifying, we've got say 21 people, and that populates the different heats. So it just happens that in this race we've got D, C, B and A. Now you've got to keep an eye on this because we're going to start, there might be more, generally it's either 32 or 47 people qualify into the mains depending on how many people show up for qualifying. But as we've got 21, we're going to start with D main, and it'll show heat 1. So then I'll take these 4 names, or 6 names, and I'll drop them into the chat just to say your heat is up. And at this point, when the mains are starting, I'll jump over to this channel because this is kind of the racing channel. And then we have to join the session. So to join the session, let's pop back to my other screen. So for mains, we're always going to be doing multiplayer sessions, and there'll be hidden sessions. So we go into multiplayer, make sure you've got the right quad selected. I'll have set up a hidden session so that not a load of random people can't join it. But if you go to multiplayer, select your quad, and up here you'll see that you've got join session, create session. There'll probably be other sessions going on down here that people are playing, but we're going to want to use this box up here to join a session. So the session name I'll also write in the chat. It's generally TBS1, just because that keeps things simple. It's also important to make sure you're on the correct server. So if I go on to America, I won't be able to join a European session. So Europe, TBS1, join session. And there we go, we're into the session. And you can see there's a couple of people. So you'll also see there's a bunch of people listed because they're the people you're flying against, and I'll set you as to either spectating or not spectating. It's best to only come into the session when it's your heat, otherwise I'll probably kick you out. So if you keep coming in and getting kicked out of the session, it's probably because you're in the wrong heat. Now let's go back to the other screen. So we'll wait for everyone to get in. When everyone's in, we'll start the first race. We go back to this, and after the first race, so this D main is doing 3 races. So I'll put everyone's positions in. And you'll see now that first place got 10 points, second got 8, third got 6, fourth got 4, fifth got 2 points, and sixth got 1 point. And they're the current positions. We'll then race again. Let's do it. And then that updates the points, and you'll see that 3 people have got 10 points. So how this works, it works on a motocross rule. So if 2 pilots, or in this case 4 pilots, have got the same amount of points, the person who goes through higher will be the person who did best in the last heat. So the last round at the moment is round 2. So out of these 4 pilots, Spencer has the best result, so he goes in 3rd. Next best is Deniz, so he goes 4th. And just to finish off the heat, and you'll see it's now complete, finishing positions. And if we scroll up to the next heat, we can see we've got first from D main and second from D main. So this is bump up finals. So Ube is in first, so he moves on to the next heat. Gravy is second, so he moves on to the next heat. And everyone else kind of start to populate on the results on the right hand side. And that's pretty much how the heats work. You can always see how many heats you're going to be racing. So it kind of gets more as we move up to the A mains because the pilots are faster, so they get through the heats quicker. And the person who wins the main event, the A main, wins overall. The final tab to look at is the series points. So I've just flipped over to the season 8 rankings. So this is where each of the week's results are added into the spreadsheet, and that's how we work out the qualifying positions for the final. So you can see on the right here we've got 4 rounds counting. So that means your best 4 rounds out of however many you competed in are taken towards your overall points. So Burak came second in week 1, so he gets 2 points, third in week 2, so 3 points. And it's the best 4 that count. So he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to make 6 points. If you don't complete 4 rounds in total, you'll get the missed round points. So it'll always be shown in the top right hand corner. This is based on the maximum number of pilots from any of the events plus 2. So if the maximum number of pilots was 59, then the missed round score will be 61. So that's only really matters if you only take part in 3 events or less. A couple of other little rules for the top 20 go directly into the final. That's why this line is here. And then anyone else can compete in the losers final. There are a couple of caveats. To go in the losers final, you must have raced in at least 3 races, and you must not have come in top 10 in any race. This is just to stop some of the top pilots sandbagging, not coming to many events, and then kind of ruining the losers final where it's meant to be a fun race, but you've got some really fast pilots. So you can see any of these red guys are people who haven't qualified for the losers final. The losers final always goes before the main finals, and then the top 4 from the losers final progress into the main finals. So I think that's about it for now. Went on a little bit longer than I expected. If anyone has any questions, just leave a comment, give us a shout, and hopefully see you at the first race this week.